Awesome. Let me minimize here. Okay, so oh, someone just arrived. So class two is a very common problem here in Brazil, and I would say in Latin America as all. I think we have about I think I saw some articles saying it's about like 60% of patients are some kind of class two. And for instance, class three here in Brazil or Latin America is less common. It's about 10% of what we have inside the office. And I do have some preference for treating cases with aligners or braces. Uh, Severe crowdings are a much better option for hybrid cases, right? You just like put braces on the lower arch for like 4 months, and you just gain a lot of time with that. And by protrusion, for example, it's the kind of cases I love to use aligners because I have better control. And class two cases, for me, it's one of the type of cases that I love to do with aligners because I can see the teeth moving. I can see the tooth just see that the molar went to the place I want. It's not as subjective as braces because braces is basically elastic, and you just need to hope that the patient's using, and you don't really have a time. Like if he asks for like what's the when it's gonna be done, you can only tell them that they have to use it, and we will see when it's gonna be done, when it's gonna be class one. But with aligners, we actually can predict. Well, we also need the patient to be cooperative, and and we can and we can use we can like predict and see how long it's going to take. So today I'm going to show you a case report of a case that it's a magnitude of class two that's very common here in my clinic. That's half class two. So when the cuspids are on top of each other, when it's a full class two, I'm not a big fan of using only aligners for that. I prefer to use distalizers. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just put here. Well, if you're watching this for the first time, I think the main thing you need to know about me is that I love orthodontics, and I actually leave aligners. That's like part of my life. I have 4 jobs today. I work in my practice. I have an aligner company. I work for ArchForm, and I do have some online courses that are about aligners. So that's what I live and that's what I like to do. And this class, as well as the Facebook group, it's supposed to be a community so we can grow together. So this is I know it's Sunday. I know that there are people here live, and I know that maybe you there that's watching right now, you're watching a recorded version on YouTube, and you just need to know the main goal. The main goal is we have to grow together. We have like to share cases, share some difficulties and problems we had, not only with the software, but with in-house aligner as well, or aligners, because in the end of the day, they are plastic. They are a CAD CAM kind of deal, right? We do project, and then we need to manufacture and deliver to our patients. So one brain can go so far, but a lot of brains, we can do some great things. if we have a lot of people willing to share and to somehow expose themselves. What I'm doing here is exposing myself. Maybe you will see some cases of mine, and it's okay. You might see some cases and say, no, I can treat better, I would do different, and that's fine. But it would be cooler if you could share with us, like, oh, maybe you should do that. I've done that. Why don't you did that? And we can like uh, see some other point of views. We don't have to agree on everything, but I think it's very rich if we can see how other people think about the same problem. Okay, so basically, I like to classify my case. He says complex. This is a new computer, so I didn't activate the Windows yet. But he says complex. I categorize my cases, my class two case, my sagittal problems as three. So what I know, so I know what I have to do. So if it's less than 1.5 millimeters, it's elastics only. But why do I do that? Because I never found an article that said if you have 1.5 or how much of a sagittal problem can an elastics correct by itself. And I never found that, but I did found one little passage on Kenji Ojima book that said that they could, or they were talking about a specific case, but they could correct a case that was a class 2 problem about 1.5 millimeters only with elastics. And I do see clinically here in my practice. And remember what I said last time that we were together. Whatever I say here that I don't show any article, it's an opinion. It's an opinion based on experience, but it's an opinion. It's not a fact. It's not something scientific. But as an opinion, I tell you guys that up to 1.5 millimeters, you can, if you have a very cooperative patient, you can correct that using elastics only. Okay. Uh, a bunch of cases here, they get up to 3 millimeters, 2.5 millimeters of class 2. In those cases, I prefer to use sequential distalization, not the common sequential distalization. I'm going to talk about that later on. And first, I'm going to do the case report. Then we're going to go to the software, and I'm going to show you some cool trips and tips that you can use for your sagittal problems. But sequential distalization, I use up to 3 millimeters. If it's over 3 millimeters, it's not for me. Okay, so aligners alone is not gonna cut it. On my cases, I tend to use some kind of distalizer. One kind of distalizer, I don't know if you know what's a distalizer, but I think the most common one that people use is the Carrier distalizer. But here in Brazil, now we have kind of like a distalizer, but from other brand, and I'm using a lot. It's from a brand called Orthometric, and I did not have any problems with it. Not like debonding or anything like that, and it's much cheaper than Carrier and delivers the same kind of result. The only problem I think is that they don't have a class 3 distalizer. So the difference between the class 2 and the class 3 is that the class 3 distalizer should not have a movable base, because when we're talking about class 2 in distalizing the upper molars, we can benefit from rotating the molar because he's already over rotated. So we just like put it in the right place. And just by derotating the molar on class 2, we can gain up to 2 millimeters. That's crazy. It's on the articles. You can find out that if you derotate a molar, you can clear up to 2 millimeters of space that you can like take advantage of this space to correct, to distalize premolars, canines, and anteriors. But we don't have this kind of problem with class 3. Class 3, we don't have like a rotated molar there. And what it does, putting the class 2 distalizer on the lower arch, is that you do distalize, but you also rotate the molar. So it's gonna be like a Rubik's cube. So you're gonna like fix the yellow, but mess up the red, and then you're gonna have to go to the red again to fix it. So if you're gonna use a distalizer, we're not talking about class 3 here. I'm just like getting to the subject, but if you're distalizing the lower arch, you should use a distalizer recommended for lower arch. Okay. And just as visual purpose, this is the amount, like how it looks, a simple case, a medium case, and a complex case. This last case here, the distalizer one, this is the distalizer that I use, that's from here, from Brazil, from Orthometric, and it's really good. Like it's clear. They don't have the metal ones, and people don't actually like. They prefer not to use the metal ones, but they don't break it. I do not have any problems with it. I do have some tips. For instance, whenever I bond the canine, I get some of Bookfill flow resin from 3M, and I put it like I'm sealing the borders of the distalizer. So I rarely have any kind of problem because it's even hard to debond. Like whenever I'm done, I already corrected and I need to take it off. It's hard to take it off. So I recommend you guys use it. So we're talking about today. Today we're gonna be talking about medium cases that I think it's like it's very precise of what you should do because the elastics you don't have doesn't have like much secret to it. You need to use the elastics and expect a distalization by block. That's kind of a myth or not, or a repositioning of the mandible. So we're talking about distalization today. We actually talk about deep bite too. So, but we're gonna start talking about the distalization. So this is the case. The case is from a guy that he became a friend of mine. This is really crazy. We have here in Brazil a saying that's like I don't know if it works in the same way in your country, but here in Brazil we say that it's easier for a friend. That's crazy. It's easier for a client or a patient to become a friend than a friend to become a patient because your friends don't value your job, your work, so they're like trying to they're not gonna pay you, they're only gonna go to your practice if it's free. So here we say that it's easier for a patient to become a friend than a friend to become a patient. And this guy became my friend. His name is Rodrigo. He's the guy whom I buy my surfboards from. So this is his profile, very class 2. You can see the mandible in the back here. We can see that he's incisors, they're a little bit flared up, and this is really common and he has like this very, very big overjet, which is very common on deep bites, because if the teeth doesn't have a support, like a stopper, it will automatically extrude to reach something. So what we do have to do here is like correct the deep bite together and go in the same time as we are distalizing. So I do like to the most of my like the I would say like a huge amount of my time of the case itself, or where my energy goes, is here. Is like to prep my cases, to put the pictures and measure how much I have to do here, how much quantify, not only qualify but quantify the problem, because when we're talking about aligners, we we do have some math here. When we're talking about braces, it's kind of, it's more like qualifying the problem than quantifying. That's kind of how I see it. So I see that I have a class two both from, well, both sides and both canines and molars. I have a overbite of 5.5 millimeters, right? The ideal amount is 2-3 millimeters tops. I do have a big overjet, and don't get me wrong. If I have a class two that's like half cuspid, I do want some overjet, right? Overjet, most of cases is gold. Like you have to have overjet so you can like finish a case well. I do have a moderate crowding here in the lower, and a very, very light crowding here in the upper arch. I do like some, I do like to do some smile analysis. Um, he has some very expressive smile curve, and he also has like all his cuspids worn out. You can see that this teeth, it's not square, but like they don't have points anymore. And I do need to take this in consideration in the end of the treatment. I'm gonna need to restore this using composites and do some follow-up. See if the cuspids that I made, they're gonna stick it, they're gonna stay there. I'm gonna have to give my patient some kind of retainer that is a little bit tougher, maybe 1 millimeter. I usually use 0.8 millimeters or 0.75. I'm using a lot of Taglus tough sheets. I don't know if you guys have in your country, but we just got last year here in Brazil, and I'm loving it because the thing that I hate the most is giving my patient a retainer, and he coming in like 1-2 months later and saying that the retainer just broke it, or it's worn off, or it's yellow now. So I think Tago stuff is a very good aligner material, and when I say aligner, I mean you can use for retainer. It's actually meant to use for retainer. And my patient, I mean, he's 43 years old, so I'm not gonna come out of nowhere and say, no, you have this very expressive smile curve, and we're gonna flatten this smile. No, I'm going to do now what I combined with him, what I suggested is that I'm gonna do some leveling here, but I will keep his central incisors very dominant, like, because that's kind of his characteristic. Like that's like his signature. Like he has this smile, and it's not ugly. It's actually when somebody has a very dominant incisors, uh, I think actually looks good. Like I know for sure it looks good on women. On guys, we don't see that a lot. But what I think is if the person already has, you should keep it. But if the person does not have, like never had in his life or her life, at first it will look weird. Like I say that because I do some kind of I do some composite veneers here in my practice, and sometimes it comes some women here and they were like, oh, I want to have bigger central incisors, and they just want like very very big, like because they saw someone on a movie or in a on Netflix they had these big incisors, and if the person never had, it will take some time to adjust to it. So I have to take all that in consideration. uh, I don't know if you guys remember, but in the last webinar I said we kind of have like this lumberjack quote here that's measure once, no, sorry, measure twice, cut once. So I imagine they're talking about trees or about wood, but measure twice, cut just once. So I try to spend most of my time and my energy here on PowerPoint, just like planning my case or maybe in the software, maybe on ArchForm. So I don't have to do too much refinement or I have to or give a lot of excuses to my patient. So this is kind of like the way I like to work. So I like to do some kind of uh, some preview on how much can I change and how much is gonna reflect on my patient's face, right? So here I start is okay. The first thing that we want to do, or the first thing that I like to do, especially if I'm doing class 2 cases, is to do some anterior work. For instance, what is the first thing you do when you're doing a distalization? You start working on the molars. The molars start distalizing, but the patient, he doesn't have like if you do not change anything, if you don't improve anything on the anteriors for them, and I know distalizing is hard work, but for them, it seems you're not doing anything. Like, oh no, did not change anything. So what I like to do is uh, altogether when I'm distalizing the molars, I start working on the interiors. Okay. So whenever I'm expanding, so if you did not watch the last webinar, it was about expansion, and I have to say it's pretty cool. You should spend some time there. But what I like to do is to expand, and if I expand, I create some space, and to actually get rid of the space, I have to contract a little bit the anterior part. And if I have crowding, I don't have space. I'm just gonna like all together, I'm just gonna like align the front teeth whenever I'm expanding. So as I said, it was a very light crowding, so easy to solve. And then on the interior, on the lower, sorry, on the lower arch, we have a, it's kind of like a moderate, I would say it's a moderate um crowding, but it's an easy one. It's moderate in the matter of amount, but it's easy in the matter of biomechanics. And I'm going to teach you guys how to spot an easy crowning case. If you look at the case, and doesn't matter if the teeth is like way back there or close to here. But if you see that the movement is just going forth and back, like in this instance, for this instance, you just need to go forth. Like you need to make like I would say like a buccal movement and a little bit of a buccal torque. Those are easy cases. If you see that has a crowding, but the teeth is rotating, it's gonna be harder. So if the movement is just a linear movement and a little bit of torque, it's easy. Doesn't matter if it's way back there or whatever. You just need to open space and project this tooth. So you have like a very good prognostics. If this tooth is rotated, then it's a little bit harder. Okay. So if you check the whenever you see the occlusal part, the occlusal view, and you see that the tooth is way back there, but the movement to put in line, it's just go buccally, a buccally displacement of the tooth. It's easy. You have a good prognostics. And in the transverse part of this case was pretty simple and pretty clear, right? So the second part was the vertical. In the vertical, some people do not like to do deep bite case. I love to do deep bite case with aligners. I love, like, from the bottom of my heart, that's like one of the best cases, but it needs to be a deep bite case that has the anterior hyper extruded. If the anterior not hyper extruded, then it's a difficult case. It doesn't matter which kind of correction you're gonna make. If you're gonna use TEDs, if you're gonna use braces, conventional, self-gating, doesn't matter. If your deep bite case does not have hyper extruded anteriors, it's going to be hard. So if it has hyper extruded teeth, it's very easy and very, very, very predictable. Okay. So basically, what we have to do is intrude. I would say, like, does it have like much to it? I don't have like no, because we need to do that. You need to expand, procline, and intrude, and we can achieve. But how much? How much? This is a very good point, and you guys pay attention to this, because uh I think the most common question that I get on my Instagram by students or by other doctors is like, how much of movement I can do here? How much of movement can I do here? Just like they always want to know what is the limits of the movement. And I had a teacher that once said, if the tooth is not extruded, you're probably not going to be able to intrude it. So you actually can intrude, but it's not stable. So whenever the tooth is extruded, let's say it's extruded 2 millimeters, and you see that it's extruded 2 millimeters, I can safely tell you that you can intrude 2 millimeters. If the tooth is not where it's supposed to be, and he's like 3 millimeters, I can tell you that you can intrude 3 millimeters, because it's not in a natural position, like in an ideal position. I'm not going to say natural, but an ideal position. So let's say it does not have a curve of speed that's like really accentuated. It does not have. It's like flat. You are not going to be able to intrude a line. And even if you do, it's not going to be stable, because it is not a natural position. It's really crazy when you have the absence of, let's say, a lower molar. You don't have the, I don't know, like the right first molar lower. The upper molar is going to extrude because it does not have an antagonist, and let's say it's extruded 2 millimeters, I can guarantee you they can easily intrude 2 millimeters because it has extruded 2 millimeters. So get what I'm saying? If the tooth is not in a natural position, ideal position, whichever amount it's displaced, you can correct it. And this should be your limit. Well, uh, if you're not doing some overcorrection, this should be your limit. Okay. So in this case, I plan 2 millimeters of intrusion. What should I tell you about intrusions? Okay, so having said that if it's 2 millimeters extruded, you can safely intrude 2 millimeters. I have to tell you that if you plan in this again, in this case, it's not really just opinion. You look around and you will see a bunch of clear aligner articles about it. But if you plan 2 millimeters, prepare yourself for 1 millimeter. Prepare yourself for 50% of correction each time you make a planning. So let's say I get this case and I throw on ArchForm and I plan 2 millimeters of intrusion. I can program myself because this is pretty much what's going to happen is 50% of correction in the amount of intrusion that I plan. So if I plan 2 millimeters, I have big chances of 1 millimeter happening. Oh, so if this is going to happen, I'm just gonna plan 4 millimeters and then 50% of 4 is 2 and doesn't work that way. So as much as you plan, like the biggest is the amount of movement you plan, the lower it gets the predictability of the movement. So you have to work in some kind of like range of movements, but and it's not a problem. Like it's okay. You plan 2 millimeters, it will happen one. Then you plan 2 millimeters again, and you're probably gonna be done with the case in like two sets of aligners. Okay. Uh, we have to understand that aligner, well, orthodontics as a whole, it's a game of patience and planning, right? It's like a strategy plan. So I used to think that the best orthodontist in the world was the guy who would finish his cases first, would like do the fastest treatments. Now, as I'm getting older, I see that the best orthodontist out there is the guy who has the more stability, or like he understood what he corrected. He didn't just like did something because it's how he learned. Like he actually understood why did this problem happen. For instance, why Rodrigo had his lowers extruded? Well, because he has this huge overjack, and he has this huge overjack. So as big as the overjack, the more a tooth can extrude to reach the palatal surface of a tooth, right? So this is the initial, this is the final, and this is the overing position, like how I can see how much of intrusion I did. And it was this is really crazy. Like he never did a bleaching in his life, and the first bleaching he did, like his tooth became like insanely white. So later on, whenever we go to the ArchForm, I'm gonna show you how to stage intrusions, because sometimes you're going to want to intrude anteriors. Sometimes you're going to want to intrude not only anteriors but also canines, and you should not do both of them at the same time. You have like to stage them, like to move them separately. Anteriors as a block, canines as another block, and we're gonna show this how we do it. So this is a 2 millimeters class 2 case, a little bit of that. And we used a distalization called 2 by 2. That's what I want to show you guys and how easy it is to do it. So what had happened was I stumbled this by accident. I planned one case. So what happened is I was planning a case on ArchForm, and by accident I forgot to distalize the other tooth. I just distalized the molars and forgot to distalize the premolars. So just one second. So I forgot to distalize the premolars. So what I did was I thought, well, maybe I invented something. Did I just create a kind of distalization? But I signed the journal, the JEO, and I was like studying someday, and I saw that this guy, Patrice, he actually had published an article that said molar distalization 2 by 2. That was an effective way to distalize teeth. So I felt sad because I was like, well, I did not create anything, but I did feel glad because it was not a mistake. Was actually something that was already being proven. So what I like to do when I'm distalizing tooth is not Invisalign pattern of distalization that they call it 50%. That means that when a tooth reaches 50% of the whole distance it needs to distalize, the other tooth start moving. ArchForm today has a button that whenever you click on it, it's called sequential distalization. It makes a distalization, but it's called 100% pattern distalization. What it means that a tooth moves 100% of its distance until the other one's ready to go. So it's very predictable. I think it's the most predictable way you can do a distalization, but it consumes a lot of liners. And even though it's more predictable, we don't have to do 100% distalization. So here, the only thing that I don't do exactly like they say here is I don't like to distalize canines together with anteriors because canine is a very strong tooth line. It has a lot of anchorage. So if you have a class 2 case and you're distalizing, and if you have any chance of your case going south, of you having problem with your case, it's in the canine. Canine, man, canine is like very tough tooth. So what I like to do is distalize molars, then distalize premolars, then distalize only canine, and then I come and I recheck the anteriors. A lot of people ask me, can I use TEDs? Of course you can. I mean, people who use TEDs like to use TEDs and they should use TEDs. People who do not use TEDs, they don't have to use TEDs. I'm not saying all cases, but in this specific case, you don't have to. How do you use TEDs? Well, let's say my patient is not very cooperative. Like I told him to use elastics and he's not using it. Now you can do like we call it IZC. You can put like a extra radicular TED and distalize. This is one way. Other way is, let's say you already distalize the molars and you want them to be there as anchorage. You can like put a TED there and just like put like this little steel frame that's fixed to the molar to the TED, and then it's anchored there. Okay. But if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. I don't use a lot here in my practice. Okay. I understand the benefits, but it's not me to use a lot of TEDs here. So this is basically what we do. Molars, let me take this out. Molars, I like to change the aligners every 14 days. To be honest with you guys, I'm changing every 14 days for everybody here in this clinic who is over 15 years old. Okay. So this is kind of like thing that I saw here, that my cases need less refinement if I leave them more time with aligners, 14 days being the top. And I actually saw this on articles saying that trade changes from 7 to 10 days, they had like no difference, no significant difference. But trade changes from 7 to 14 days, they had. And I do see a lot of cases, and I can easily tell that patients who use 14 days have a better result than patients who use 7 or 10. Okay. But assim, in order to finish this case faster, and they do have like the saying that I like a lot, that's orthodontics is like golf, you know, the game. Wins who mess up less. In Portuguese makes more sense, but like who commits less errors uh, actually wins the game. So I stylized first molars, 14 days. The premolars, I think they're like very cooperative teeth. I think like you can do a bunch of movements and they respond really well. So you can do the tray changes every 7 or 10 days. The canines, again, I like to give them, I like to give canines a lot of attention and energy and focus, because my case can go south because of canines. So I like to change every 14 days. And I could change 7, 10 days or 14 days and years. I don't have an opinion about that very concrete yet. But one thing that I can promise you guys is that sometimes you're gonna say, "Oh, but I have a lot of overjet. I don't have to worry about my anteriors." But what happens is on ArchForm or any software, you're gonna program the tooth to move bodily, but it's not gonna happen then. What is going to happen is it will have a very, I would say a very expressive, like not a huge, but you definitely could see it, a lingual root torque. And you could benefit from it. And because most of the time, if it's a class 2 case, division 1, you do have like flared up anteriors. But if you did not program very well your final overjet, you're gonna have problems. So what I like to do is whenever I'm doing the retraction, I like to put 1 degree of this is a very cool tip. Okay, so try to memorize this. If you're watching this right now, okay, if you're watching a recorded version, also pay attention. This is for both you guys. When I'm retracting, for every 0.25 of retraction, I like to incorporate 1 degree of buccal torque as a resistance torque. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it kind of will be like this tug war game of leaving the tooth more. I'm not going to say vertical, but respect the position that I want in terms of angular movement. So let's say I retract 1 millimeter the anteriors. 1 millimeter has, well, 4 degrees of crown buccal torque that I should incorporate. I don't know if it made sense for you guys, but if it did not, try to come here and watch this part again, because it's very, very important. And I'm saying that because I had trouble with that. Like, I was like, where's the overjet that I had initially here? Now I have like this edge from edge. bite here and I have to fix it. And it's very annoying to fix a edge like when you did not plan your final overjet too well. Okay. So what I like to use is at least in the first month, we have this is a Brazilian brand, so don't really matter the brand here. You probably have your brand, the brand that you're used to use uh, for for elastics, but I like to use this one, 1/4 medium. Is what you normally you regularly use for your class 2 cases. Like at least here in Brazil, I would say 80 to 90% of people use this kind of elastic for class 2. Here in the package it says 316, but it's 1/4 medium. And for night, and here's the golden tip. I love to use the Carrier motion appliance for elastics, the Force 2, because it's really strong. Here it says 8 ounces, but it's like 20 ounces. It's crazy strong. And I love this elastic. It's not the cheapest, so it's kind of like expensive. So whenever you give to the patient, you need to make sure he understand that's a very good elastic. Like you have to use it. You cannot just like lose this package of elastics. It's made for the appliance, the Distalizer appliance, but I love to use on my patients. I'm having like very like crazy good results on sagittal problems, not only class 2, but class 3 too. And I'm pretty sure you can find this in any country because it's like, I would say, it's the most famous distalizer ever. And the company
Like
in your
sample
country,
tested or something.
I'm sorry,
I see.
did Andrew say, did you say something, Andrew? No. Okay. So you can find this in your country. And I really like to use it. So what we did here in this case is exactly what I told you guys I like to do. I like to distalize the molars. And this is a very good trick for you guys. Tip. Let's say you make your own aligners. That's what I do. I like to make my own aligners. But it's becoming like very common to have white labels company or you have a friend who has a printer or whatever. The most important thing is, do you have a scanner? Because scanner is a really good thing to have these days. But if you don't have and you have to send to here we say image clinic, the clinic who do diagnostics and stuff, you send it there and they scan it. But if you have a scanner, what I like to do is I distalize molars and then I rescan. As I said the last time, I have this it's kind of like a joke that I say that my protocol it makes sure that it doesn't matter which patient it is. In my protocol using ArchForm, I know for sure that my 16th aligner is gonna have a perfect fit. It's not 80%, it's gonna be 100% perfect fit. And I can say for sure because I only deliver 15 aligners. The 16th aligner is going to be a new, it's going to, I don't like this word, it's going to be refinement. It's going to be like the new phase of the treatment. So I deliver 15 aligners, rescan, and deliver new aligners. Every 15 to tops 20 aligners. Deliver this because I'm not gonna like produce 60 aligners to see in the aligner 45 that the case is not, oh, I'm losing the track of my case. Let me just fill the mouth of my patient with brackets and buttons and elastics and wires and stuff so I can put the teeth back on track. I'm not gonna do that. Doesn't make any sense. Like if the person went to your office and you, as the doctor, as the responsible, said, no, this is a great case for clear aligners. Clear aligners. Doesn't make sense for me to like have like don't set myself up, like don't program myself to see this kind of like, I'm not saying I don't use uh other kind of like we call it accessories, like I have to use some buttons or brackets. I use it all the time, but when I do, I already told my patient in the beginning of the treatment. We have a saying here that's like everything that is said in the beginning, it's an explanation. And everything that is said in the end, it's an excuse. So if I have, for instance, let's say I have a premolar rotation of over 20 degrees, 25, I know for a fact that aligners itself is not going to cut it. It's not going to solve it. And if it does, it's going to take a long time. So what I tell my patient is in the beginning of the treatment, he doesn't have any aligners yet. I say, see, you have this very difficult uh, tooth here, has a lot of rotation. And I'm pretty sure that later on, we may have to put some braces or some buttons with elastics and do a binary or something like that, because I think it's not going to rotate. So I told my patient. And in the end of my set of aligners, if this tooth does not rotate, the patient is going to be, wow, really good. This tooth actually did not move. And then I just go there as the saver and say, I told you so, didn't I? And then I go there and I put, what I cannot do is I delete the aligners. I tell my patient the aligner is going to solve everything because the aligners are great and stuff like that. And whenever we're in the end of the treatment, he's like, well, but this tooth, it's already rotated. It's still rotated. And I tell him, oh, okay, yeah, no, for sure. Now I'm gonna have to put some braces. Like, no, but you told me we were going to have to. So what I'm telling you guys is mistakes that I made, like stuff that happened to me that I really do not wish to happen to you guys. This is one of the purpose of this community. This is what I would like to be one of the purpose of this community. So we could like share mistakes, and I can promise you guys, mistakes are way more valuable than stuff that went right. Like stuff that actual success is really cool, but mistakes it's more valuable. And I understand that people, and we have like cultures different, we have a lot of stuff different. And I know people don't like to expose themselves. I don't really have this kind of problem, but it would be really good if we could share stuff that did not go right, did not go the way we wanted, because it would be way more sober. We would be more truthful. Like, I think would be cool. So what I'm telling you guys, every time I give a tip, is something that I did wrong, and I really, from the bottom of my heart, don't wish that happening to you guys. So the molars and what we see now. This tip is golden. Before you start any distalization, pay attention. Before you start any distalization, you have to tell your patient something like this. Let's say his name is Joe. Joe, we're gonna start the distalization now. And if in any moment you see that you cannot eat, and now I'm gonna use the name of an American food because, and if you don't know, you have to kind of like to look it up because we use another example here in Brazil, but in America they have sloppy Joe. They have like this. It's like I don't know how to describe it, but it's like this meat that's like really. If you have any space between your teeth, it will stuck there. So what you have to tell your patient is that if in any time during the treatment. This happens is because the treatment is going well. It's amazing. It's excellent. Because if you don't, it's going to be like a bad experience. And if you already told him, and this is an explanation, say, because we're creating spaces back there. And if you eat something, you see they get stuck there, man, we're doing great. That means that the treatment is success. So you made another narrative, and the patient's gonna be like, well, he's still gonna bother him, but you're gonna be like, wow, at least it means it's working. Okay, this it might sound silly, and I don't even know if you understood what I said, but this is a very good tip. If you're doing sterilization, before you start, tell your patient that if stuff start getting stuck between his teeth, it means that the treatment is going very good. Okay. So after the molars, we do the premolars. Oh, sorry. And we're going to see the space going. And it's very crazy how much decays you find out when you're doing sterilization, because we never get to see the side of the tooth, and you need to prepare your patient for that too. So after the premolars, we go with the canines, and last but not least, we do the anteriors. Can you see here on the video that it's kind of having like a torque? This is the torque that I told you guys about. It doesn't look like the tooth is coming bodily. Like you get to see less and less of the buccal surface. That means that I incorporated some torque. So we go from here to here. This is what I told you guys. Like the image is not so good, but it did not have the points, so I had to make this restorative. I have to program that later on. Same way here. Like does not have the cuspids anymore, so I need to make this functional, and I need to see in the mouth that is functional. Does it have the canine guide? Does it have the anterior? He says previous, but it's anterior guide. Does it have the both left and right? In here, you can see how much it changed the inclination, and we know for a fact that whenever the anterior tooth it's vertical, it looks so much better. Like it reflects more light. In the pictures looks it's crazy, it's insane. Now the you can see how the intrusion flattened the curve speed and how it looks better. So this was the case report of Rodrigo. As I told you guys, he's the guy who makes my surfboards. Uh, he's a very good patient. He's like the best patient, because this is the frustrating part of aligners, clear aligners. The best cases is going to be because of your best patients. It's going to be because of the patient who actually used the liners. So you give your heart, like I give my heart to all my plannings. Like all I like to like give it all to whenever I'm planning. But I know for a fact that if the patient do not use it, it's not going to work. So this case had success not only because I used a great software that's ArchForm, not only because I used a very decent aligner tray, but especially because Rodrigo used his aligner. So now to the software, my friends. I'm going to open ArchForm. Mm. Do you guys have any questions so far? If you don't feel like talking, you can type it on the comment section. Yes, please, my friend.
Hi, Gabriel. Thank you so much so far.
Um,
I just had a question about scanning the patient again. So when you say if you have a scanner in-house, after distalizing the molars, we scan again. Do we take off the attachments at that scan? And
Perfect
then do we
question.
have to scan again after the premolars have been distalized?
Okay, brilliant, brilliant. So the question of our friend is, when I stop, like as I said, I like to distalize the molars. And then the way that I like to work is to rescan my patient. The question of Joaquin was, do I change the line? Do I change the attachments? Do I have to take it off and put new attachments? And my recommendation for attachments is this. Are you still doing the same kind of movement? If you're doing, keep the attachment. You don't have to change it. I know that whenever you have to ask for other companies, they put there like recommended, remove the previous attachments so we can put new ones. But the attachment, it has a purpose. For instance, the purpose can be just retention of the aligner, can be to help have better control of a movement. For instance, whenever I'm distalizing, I like to put vertical attachments to hold better. And we have articles who actually support that. Says there's like this article who talks about distalization in class 2, and it tested out different patterns of attachments, and then it makes like this finite element analysis, and it came to a conclusion that the best configuration for distalization is attachments from second molar to canines in vertical attachments. So do I take it off? No. The only reason for me to take an attachment off and put a new one is if my attachment has any defect, like if it broke it and I look and I don't know, maybe whenever I put it, it had some bubble on the composite or stuff like that. If it did not, I leave the attachment. Or let's say I have a case where I'm doing extrusion of a lateral incisor, and I'm extruding, and for any kind of extrusion, we need attachments. But let's say I planned this extrusion and the extrusion happened. So if the movement is done, I could take it off. But then again, it's just like for us to think. I don't have an answer for that. But the literature says that for the fibers that holds the tooth to settle, it takes 200 days. That's what the article, that's what the literature says. So I would say that the attachments work as some kind of retention, some kind of retainer for itself. So I don't like to change attachments if they're not malfunctioning, if they're not like broken or anything else. Did that was a good answer, Joaquin?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, awesome. Do you guys have any more question before we can? If you don't wanna talk on the audio, does not have a problem. You can just like type it on the meeting chat, and I can just read it and answer it if you guys don't feel comfortable speaking. Okay, let's go. So I'm gonna add the case. And for this purpose, I'm gonna put the exact case that I showed you guys. That's Rodrigo. So I'm gonna put one, two files. Upper joint scan, lower joint scan. I like ArchForm so much because look, I barely have to do anything here. So I'm just gonna go forward. I'm not even gonna trim the model. Awesome. I would use the auto segment, but I feel like clicking. You know, some days you just gotta do it. You have some clicks to spare. So fast, that's crazy. See? Perfect. Awesome. Lower, perfect. I always say that the webinar is gonna take 1 hour, but it never does. I'm sorry for that, but I feel like we're doing something. I feel like we're getting there. We do have some subjects to talk about. We have uh, a lot of cool stuff to show. This part is really important. You need to make the axis look good. One tip that I have for you guys is to leave the blue one right in the middle, like as it was coming from the middle of the. Another tip is just change the laterals if you don't like the inclination they have. The same tip goes for the molars. And something cool is that you can actually like just change it if you want to move forward. You can just move, you can just like fix this later on. But why this is important? Why should I spend time on this part of adjusting the axis? Because all auto features of ArchForm depends on those lines. For instance, I want to use the auto attachment tool. It's gonna use as reference those lines. So if they're like all messed up, the auto attachment is gonna come all messed up. What else? The auto alignment tool also uses these lines as reference. So if it's not looking good, the result's not gonna come looking good also. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you guys is whenever we're doing an intrusion. So pay attention because this is really cool. Let's say I want to intrude anterior and canines. me change the do not like the auto center. Okay. So let's say I want to intrude all those guys. I come here, I'm gonna put 2 millimeters, gonna hit enter, then I fix it up later. This one. This one. I'm not gonna give any spoiler to you guys, but then yeah. So Alberto said, whenever we have the integration of CBCT in ArchForm, it will help a lot. And ArchForm, it is actually working on that, but they do work on a priority coming from the users, and the priority right now. Video is soft. Usually Mandibular is locked in class 2. Only a liner can correct molar reduction by manual. Oh, cool. Okay. So Paresh said, I don't know if I pronounced it right, your name, Paresh, my friend. In Kenjajima YouTube video, I saw usually mandible is locked uh, in class 2. Only a liner can correct molar relationship by mandibular advancement. When to distalize, when to mesialize. Uh, I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer that, because I think it's kind of like it may be a polemic answer, but I do not believe a lot on mandibular advancement. And this, as saying that, I mean, like, it's what I believe, and I might be, and I have like a lot of chance of being wrong on this. But what I believe is 1.5 millimeters possible of repositioning mandible, and I cannot tell you uh, how stable this is. So if I have the control, if I have the possibility, and if I have bone in the back of my second molars to distalize, I'm doing this. But in class, do you mean class 2, division 2? You don't mean whenever we have a unilateral class 2, right? Because in unilateral class 2, when you have class 2 just in one side, then I agree 100% with that, because unilateral class 2, out of 4, 3 have that's actually a study. Out of 4 unilateral class 2, 3, the reason is mandible. This, if we're saying we're talking about the same thing, I agree. And most people actually correct the upper. So if you have like a midline going to the to some place, you're like, ah, no, let me correct only using the maxillary. You actually are changing the upper arch midline that was correct, and now they're both wrong, but they're aligned. That's what you said. Because the answer is, if the problem is in the maxillary, you have to distalize. If the problem is in the mandible, you can majorlize. But if you want to do, and if you can do both, it's going to take less aligners. Parrish, let me know if my answer got to you. Okay, awesome. Thank you, buddy. People, thank you for participating. You guys are the best. The best there is. No, thank you, Parrish. Okay. I'm gonna like remove all the IPR here. I'm not gonna give a spoiler, but if IPR hitting button here is a problem for you, you are for a surprise in May. What I want to show you guys is what not to do. And then I show you what you have to do. So, for instance here, I intruded, but as you can see, I am intruding both canines and anteriors at the same. Let me just see how is the staging. Okay. I did them both at the same time. And I don't want to do that. What I want to do is intrude first anteriors, and then if I have to, intrude canines. What you can do here, and see that I did all at once. So it took me 15 aligners. I like to see how much of intrusion I did. So let's say what you can do is this. I'm gonna delete it. I'm gonna show you guys how to make a staging. You can intrude anteriors first. And then you can create a new goal and intrude. Just show you from first. So this is an intrusion staged. I did the anterior first and then just the canine. So this is way more predictable. So what you want to do is intrude the lower and correct the alignment. I did not do that here. Let me do it. Okay. So Alberto asked, do I do this intrusion without attachments? Nope. For intrusion, we need attachments. Not on the teeth intruding, but in the tooth next to the one intruding. So if I'm doing intrusion, I do not need, né, Alberto? Não preciso. I don't have to have intrusion here. Don't have to have attachments here, but I need to have attachment here, here, and here. At least here, I would have to have attachments, but not here. So let's say I only intrude these two. I don't have to have attachment here, but I need here and here. If I'm intruding only those two do not need attachment at all. But this one and this one needs attachment. So first I intrude anterior, create a new goal, and then I intrude the canines. So this was staging, okay? So doesn't have much to it. Doesn't have like, oh my God, what else? Well, I could say also, whenever you have deep bites, you have big chances. I'm gonna take off the APR region so you guys can see. I have big chances of this anterior being way too vertical or even a little bit lingually torqued. So what you can do, and it does help, is to give a buccal crown torque. I'm sorry. It's what we call relative intrusion. Whenever you give a buccal root torque. Yeah, okay, so this buccal advance needs a torque compensation. It does every time. So this is what we talk about in the last webinar is whenever you move an anterior tooth forward, it needs to have 1 degree off. Pay attention, this is very important. In the last webinar, we covered this. If you move 0.25 here, for every 0.25 here, you need to have 1 degree here. Because if you only make a bodily movement, you have big chances of taking the root, né? Since we don't have here a CBCT, but you have big chances of taking the tooth out of the bone. So what we do here is move forward, but we compensate by giving a buccal crown torque or a lingual root torque to leave the root inside the bone. Okay, so what I want to show you guys now is the distalization part. It's very important. Check this out. First, you need to see how much, and just for planning purpose, I'm gonna click on the molar and I'm gonna distalize just to see how much I have to distalize to look good. You see, 1.81, I'm gonna go up to 2 because I like round numbers. So 2. Perfect. Okay. So it's gonna go back to where it was. Now check this out. I click on those two, and I do like to do on from canine to molar. This is how easy it is. Come here, I put 2 millimeters, and I hit on distal. Here it does not look perfect, so I might have to stylize a little bit. So this here, and I'm gonna show you guys a little bit of a cheat code that I do, but it's something that I like to do, and you guys don't have to do it. But as I said, because this is a very heavy elastic, I also like to give a mandible compensation of the elastic. Of minus 1.5. I like to imagine that the mandible is gonna go forward a little bit because the elastic is very heavy. Without TEDs. No, Alberto, no TEDs at all. Because I don't like it. Not I don't like it, but I don't have I don't usually use it. So now it looks good. So I'm done. But what is happening right now? See, that's a block distalization, and this is not going to happen. It would if it was a distalizer, but this is not a distalizer. This is clear aligners. And see that in the end, it has a virtual jump of 1.25 that I incorporate on my cases because I think, remember, this is an opinion, and I have mine, and you guys have yours, and you can like try it out, and then you have another opinion, or you have the same opinion. So I like to incorporate this little jump because the elastic that I use is very heavy. But what I do now is hit the sequential distalization button. I'm gonna hit here. And it always warns me. It says, look, you have 8 aligners. Are you sure you wanna press this? Because I'm gonna add a lot of new goals. And I am sure. I had 8 aligners. Now I have 40. Why? Because it's moving with the pattern of 100%. Remember what I told you guys? A tooth goes 100% of the destination until the next one wants to go. And to make this here looks like a 2x2 distalization, it's so simple. Check this out. You just come here and you delete the first one. And then you come here and you delete the next one. And now, voila, you have molars, premolars, canine, and you add a new goal to finish the case and put where the anteriors where you want it. You notice that I'm doing just sloppy just to show you guys for educational purpose. Fantastic. Here's the guy. show. Anderson is a very good friend of mine. So I cannot tell you guys why, but I did miss hitting this button here so many times. This is as much as I can say. As a gossip, as a gossip. And remember, I'm not trying to fix the case. I'm just like showing how the mechanics work, but it should be something like this. So this is predictable. And this is what I told you guys about deep bites, right? Now I have to fix the deep bite because this is a very strong contact. So what I did actually in the plannings is a little bit of intrusion also, because it is a little bit too much extruded, even though his smile does look good on him. The other thing that I told you guys, it's not supposed to look good, but to have a counter torque is So you deleted the first three goals? No, I just deleted two goals. I deleted the first goal where the second molar moved by itself, and I deleted the goal where the second premolar. So write this down, guys. Delete the goal where the second molar moves by itself. And then you delete the goal where the second molar moves by itself. So the second molar and the second premolar. Those goals, you just take it off. And what I didn't do here, and you have to do is, whenever you go to the last goal, because the last goal here, whenever you did this, is going to be the canine in the right place. Just see in the occlusal view and really put in the final position you want. Okay, this is like a very pro tip. Put on the place you want to be, the final best place you want, okay? And the overcorrection, so Alberto asked about overcorrection. No, what I do is a counter torque. So see that here it's moving pretty much 2 millimeters. That means that needs to have at least 4 degrees of counter torque here, okay? Let's see, it has 4. Oh, damn, that's good. Okay, 4 millimeters. Why? Because whenever you retrude, it's gonna give a lingual torque, even if you don't want to. So giving the plastic a counter torque kind of keeps the tooth from having this movement that you don't want. Okay, so just for educational purpose and for us to end this webinar for today, because we are already going to 2 hours, I'm gonna do this case, finish this case, and do as if I was actually planning the case to show you guys step by step. And I'm gonna be like commenting, but while I'm doing this, you are free to ask as many questions as you want, and you really need to take advantage of being here live, because this is the moment. I'm not saying I'm not gonna answer you on Facebook, because you guys know that I always do. If you ask me anything, I'm gonna answer you there. But here we have like this moment where we can grow together. So just type it there. I'm gonna be making the treatment here and talking to you guys, and I'm gonna tell you what I actually do on my cases. So the first thing that I want to do is, remember that I told you guys, correct the anterior. Kind of like a static correction to the patient feel like the treatment began. So there's always buccal torque with retraction. Yes, yes, my friend. I like to do it. The only reason that I would not do it if the teeth is very flared up, it already has a lot of buccal torque, and I don't need any more buccal torque, and I could actually benefit from some lingual torque, then I do not do it. But if I feel that it's very vertical and my overjet, it's almost in the end, I don't have that much of overjet, then I do the buccal torque. Buccal torque is for always when you have a tooth that's almost in a vertical position, or if you don't have enough overjet, or if you're feeling that your overjet is gonna be it's in the very end, and you don't have to have, you're not gonna have enough for the retraction. Okay. As I said, I need to move molars, but my patient needs to see the anterior teeth moving. So it looks good. Like the patient's gonna say, no, I saw my teeth moving on this first set of aligners. Okay, so Alberto asks, did you got these results in class 2 using direct print aligners? And I might say, I never use direct print aligners because here in Brazil, there's not a lot of people who's doing it. So I'm not there yet, but I'm pretty sure you could do it because direct print aligners, they are supposed to be, if they're not now, they're supposed to be better for a bunch of stuff. Not for all, but a bunch of stuff, they're better. They're supposed to be better because you will be able to incorporate more movement with less aligners. So I go to my lower and I am going to fix my crowding. Sometimes ArchForm is not going to show here. So you just click once. I do have some rules that I'm going to tell you guys. They're like personal rules. Uh, for whoever was in the last webinar, I I told you guys, oh, see how it has like some space here. You just hit here once. When you see that the software is not showing, just hit here once and then remove it. I I don't like to make a lot of buccal movements of anteriors if the teeth, the tooth is lingually displaced, then it's okay. But if it's not, since this one, for instance, this one is not. The max that I go, like the max amount of movement that I make is 1.25. I don't go over 1.25. Okay. If the tooth is like this, I can go a little bit more. Great, guys. I love when you guys ask stuff. Which is best attachment for rotation and rotation plus extrusion? Okay. Any reason why? Okay, just for me to understand. Joaquin, any reason why what? Why I don't go over 1.25, 1.5 millimeters? Okay, because of this. I didn't show. I thought I showed, but I did not. I had a case where I did more than that. I did something like 2 millimeters, 2 point something, and the tooth actually came out of the base, and the it was insane. It was like a very was an Invisalign case where I just received the clean check and I did not spend time looking at the setup. I just saw, and it was my mistake because I just typed something, they send me the planning, I saw, and I approve it. But I approve it without looking here, without looking to the table view. And then I did not see that the teeth was going, because check this out. The teeth here, it says it's going 1.2 millimeters forward. And if we have a CBCT, we don't see 2 millimeters of bone here. So how much can I go? How much can I show this teeth? So since I had a bad experience showing teeth large distance uh, forward, this is my limit today, 1.5. And the other question was, which is best attachment for rotation and rotation plus extrusion? I will show you. Let me know something, Paresh. Do you have my auto attachment file? Does everybody here has? Please type the answer in the chat. Did you guys downloaded my auto attachment file? Yes, awesome. What about you, Paresh? Yes, okay, awesome. Okay. No, thank you guys. And you guys can like change it and put the way you guys want it. So if you have any preference, the attachment you like and stuff like that. But for rotation, I would love to tell you, Paresh, that I'm fancy and I have this very cool attachment. But to be honest, I use on premolars and canines, I like to use a vertical. But if I am extruding, I like to use a vertical, but they call it slash because it's tilted horizontally. I will show you in a bit. Okay. Since I don't have, I actually, to Rodrigo's case, I did not add any intrusion on the canines. So this is ready to have the, I think something here, let me see. Okay, guys, do you see what I just did there? What I like to do is come here in the settings and leave this one, where is here? Multi-selection, move direction. There's like two options. This one where you actually tells the software with direction, and each of the tooth, they move to that direction, but using their own axis as a north. And then there's this one that I just clicked that everything you select moves as a block. This is the one I like the best, okay? Because this one is only available with the widgets. But if you want to do the other one, you just need to multi-select and use this one because it will automatically be the other option, okay? I don't know if that made sense. Okay, so this is what we have now. And what I want to do is add the distalization. Remember, hold the shift key, select canine to second molar. Here it's already 2, so I'm gonna hit distal. I'm going to remove the IPR or the space here. And now I'm gonna hit sequential distalization. It is going to add a lot of aligners. And my job here is to, remember, delete the goal of the second molar moving by itself and delete the goal where the second premolar is moving by itself. So see how it's moving by itself? I'm deleting this goal. Now they go together, but the next goal, the second molar comes by itself. So what I have to do is delete this one also. Voila, I have second molar, both molars, both premolars, canine, and now I create a new goal just to bring those anterior back. But now, since I fix it, I'm probably gonna have to constrict a little bit the canine. Maybe too much here. Let's check this beauty. Both molars, both premolars, canine, anterior. Okay, perfect question for Joaquin. What stage do you incorporate elastics? Guys, remember that elastics needs to be on day 1. Elastics, you cannot wait later on to put it. It needs to be on day 1, okay? But my patient, well, tell him that he needs to do that. It's different from conventional braces, but it's the same as self-ligating braces, because self-ligating braces, people actually use elastics from the jump start. So now the case is, now it's the bonus track for you guys, okay? Pay attention because this is gold. How do I like to finish my case, Gabriel? If you want expansion, in the first part, let's say I want, remember the first part where I actually aligned the whole anterior, was like 12 aligners. That's the part you want the expansion to happen. Alberto said, do you have any idea if ArchForm is going to introduce buttons in the direct print aligners for use of the elastics? I cannot give you it. See, that's why ArchForm is good, because we have Andrew. He's omnipresent. Like he's there. If you say ArchForm 3 times, he shows up. Awesome. Okay. So okay, so this is the golden tip. How do I like to finish my cases? or how do I want my case to finish in the first? Okay. So Anderson asked, how could I expand 50% in the first moment and distalize molars and then expand the other 50 and distalize? Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is question. How can in the first moment he expand? Let's say he's talking about the molars, only the molars, and he want to expand 1 millimeter. That's how much he want to expand. And how can he incorporate here? Look, he can come here, see that I'm distalizing. He can click here, 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 and here, and expand. Let's say he want to expand 1 millimeter. In the first moment, he want to expand half of it. And half of it is 1.5 buccal. Now, in the next, as he said, whenever he's distalizing the premolars, he wants to expand the second part of it. So he clicks here, and it's already selected. He just hit 1 millimeter, and he hits buccal. Now, check it out. Expanded 0.5, and now the other 0.5, totalizing 1 millimeter. Let me know if it made sense, Anderson. Okay, guys, now the very cool trick. Perfect. Perfect is you. Look, how I want to finish. There is this article which says that anything that you see here on the posterior as occlusal contacts, it's going to happen clinically, half of it. So if you see this very strong occlusal contact in the back, in the mouth, now if you see this on the software, in the mouth, it's only going to show half of it. But, however, whatever you see happening here on the anteriors is going to happen on the mouth. And this is the number one problem why people do not finish their cases well. That's why a lot of people put pictures on social media of cases being treated with posterior open bite. The number one reason of posterior open bite is because lack of overjet. It's because they have premature contacts on the anterior. So what I like to do is finish my case with heavy contacts on the posterior and no contact at all on the anterior, except on open bite cases. Open bite case, I want contact. If it's not an open contact case, open bite contact case, I want heavy contacts on the posterior and no contact at all on the anterior. And let me show you guys how to do this in a very easy and beautiful way. Check this out. I see both arches. This is so cool. I love doing that. See how, let me see a question. No extrusion. No cutting the aligner. Alberto asked, with extrusion or recording, cutting the aligner in the posterior? With extrusion, Alberto, I'm sorry. What I do is I select all posterior. Same thing here. Guys, this is awesome. Check this out. I put here on the extrusion 0.5. It's already there, but I'm going to put it again. And then I click extrusion. Now I come to check it out, and I already have, because 0.5, it's a okay amount of extrusion for you to incorporate in your cases. Is this going to happen? No. The article says that half of this is going to happen. You see this canine, I don't want this. I'm probably going to put a little bit of anterior movement, or I'm going to check the antagonist and see who is healing. Oh, see? Okay, awesome. Let's see upper. This is what I want. When I finish a case, if every time I finish a set of aligners, if I look for this, I have huge chances of a very good finishing of my cases with aligners, okay? So try to look for this. But the case is not over yet, and I'm still talking about the staging. So the next thing, you guys need to check it out, and it's a matter that people usually don't take in consideration, is IPR. Let's say that for this case, this is the amount of IPR I programmed. It's 2 millimeters only on the anteriors, only and only from mesial of canine to mesial of canine. That's the amount I want. IPR. And here, I need you guys, if it's here today on Sunday, or if it's on Friday because you're watching recorded, you need to pay a lot of attention of what I'm going to say. IPR has only 2 rules. The first rule is if, pay attention, if it does not have IPR on the last stage, it cannot, you're not allowed to leave IPR in any other stage here. Meaning, if it does not have a collision in the last stage, you cannot have collision here on the other stages. So let's see if there is some IPR. For instance, here, you should not have IPR because here does not have it. So what do I do? I remove it. Awesome. Let's keep watching. Let's see. Oh, here. It's showing again. So I'm going to remove it. Okay. Now we go to the second rule, and I'll come back to where we are right now. The second, so the first rule is, if doesn't have IPR here, it cannot be on any of these, because what you're saying is that one teeth it's going inside another. And if the IPR that's removing amount of teeth, if it's not done, the teeth is gonna be, you have chances of creating a crowding that is not there. That's the first rule. The second rule, remember, only 2 rules. The second rule is, if there is IPR, let's say there is IPR, the amount here cannot be greater than here. So if there is 2, cannot be 3, 4, 5, 6, 0 point something here. So I saw that here, you see on the stage 8, 19, 0.3. So what I have to do is, and I call this part of the treatment clearing IPR, or this is called transitory IPR. I create a new goal and I fix it. And if I go stage from stage, it's going to be a lot of work. So what I like to do, there is a uh, uh, a trick that I call 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. So every 5 aligners, I go there and I remove it. What you can do is come here on the 30, on this aligner, and just remove one, because this is where it's showing 3, and it might compensate here. Oh, did not. So we'll come here and, oh, but sometimes when you do that, you need to know that it is going to create more aligners, and that's okay. Since it's still bigger there, I'm gonna remove all of it. Let me see. So I don't have to create a new. Let's create. Here, here, here. Okay. This one needs to go too, because there is no IPR here. So this one, and let me see if it's still there. And create the space, because I know it's going to be consumed here. Perfect. Okay, so the case is well staged. I'm just gonna fix this here. How are you going to make 39 aligners 15? That's a good question, isn't it, Joaquin? Joaquin, what I'm going to do in this case is just probably print the first aligners. This, like, as soon as I'm done with the or I could go like to 16, you know, like I print just those aligners, deliver to my patient, rescan, but I have the planning. I make a new planning. There's like no problem at all, because it's gonna be a new product, a new planning, but I know what's the main goal. I have this as a master planning. I don't have to to think from scratch. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, what I do here in my practice is I plan as much as I can with 15 to up to 20 aligners. So this is what I would do. Okay, so the planning, like the teeth movement, here is done. The next thing I need to do is put attachments. And probably the last, oh, I'm sorry. Remember what I forgot? I forgot to give a little bit of compensation with the elastic. 1.5, sorry, 1.5. Or I could just leave the way it was. I'm not gonna teach you the Okay, the next thing is the attachments. So in this computer, I don't have the attachments, auto attachments file. So for educational purpose, if you're not on the ArchForm community group yet, you need to be there, because this is where Andrew delivers all the news before any other place. And we have there, you just have to look for the post. There is like an auto attachment file there. I'm going to teach you how easy it is to install on your software. You just go to settings, go to auto attachments, import settings from file, find where you downloaded. Here's mine, my save file JSON, and voila, there's like all those rules that you can change it. So since I put it here and it's not perfect, you're probably gonna have to change something because people have different tastes, and attachment is the spicy of the recipe. So I just click on auto attachment. It is kind of the way I already want it. Only here I'm gonna have to change it because it needs to fit a button cutout. I do not like the hook. Like some people like it. It's just a matter of preference. I'm not a big fan of it. I like to bond a button here, and I want my patient to use it. For class 2, for most cases, I don't use second molar attachments. You see, where do I buy the carrier elastics? Anderson, na ortoguia, here in Brazil. Ortoguia. Later on, send me a message on WhatsApp and I tell you. By the way, the indirect bond tray works already. Oh, this is with you, Andrew. Here, I'm gonna take off this attachment because this is not the one I like here. When I use elastics and buttons, I like to use a vertical but smaller. I should put the the 3. And the reason why I use this is because I saw a video from a class from Ken Jojima where he says that having a vertical attachment here on the mesial part of the tooth helps from, it helps, not like cracks and all, but helps from tipping. So this case, I don't want any anterior attachments. You see how this looks funky? It's not like on the middle. If I hit the button axis, probably the axis is gonna be like this. So this is what I told you guys. If you leave the axis in the right place, the attachments are going to follow. I make the same thing that I did in the other one. Here. This one. This one. You can paste and copy. For instance, I can hit here, click Control C, hit here, Control V. One thing you need to watch out, it's a mistake that I do all the time. I always forget is, you see how I'm putting the cutout here and there's the number. One problem is that we forget that the cutout's here, and when I hit done, I just put to print, and whenever I have to cut, I cut the number. So always look out for the number, see if it's in the right place. So this is pretty much it. This is what I would do. 40 aligners. I could, it's 39. If I want 40, I can just hit here and insert a new aligner. And I was 40. If you like round numbers, I can do. And voila, my friends, the case is done. Now we go to the questions. And I must say, I need to thank you guys because you guys are awesome. If we're not friends already on Facebook or Instagram, please, let's be friends. I post some cool things there. I will post more this month. I'm very excited for AEO. And by the end of April, I'll be posting a lot of stuff from planning. Like planning stuff, I'll post a lot. May is gonna be a crazy month. I'm gonna post a bunch of stuff there. So now is the question part, my friends. Let me see. When I use elastic, I lose tracking. How do I prevent that? You lose tracking of which kind of teeth and which kind of movement, my friend. Alberto asks, I do not understand what you said about the video of Ojima. Could you repeat, please? Ojima says that when you're putting the elastic on the molar, he puts a vertical on the mesial, just as I put it, so the molar doesn't tip because of the string of the elastic. So he put a molar there so kind of compensates. Mostly the canines with class 2. Okay, Joaquin, do you use buttons or do you do that slice cut where you put the elastic on the aligner? Buttons. Yeah, you should not lose the tracking. See if you're adding a lot of movements that we call it antagonists. I'll make a class this year about biomechanics. It's very cool. It's very like it clears a lot of stuff that we have. You see, what I think the problem is today that 1 month is too long. Like I want to talk about more stuff, and I really appreciate this community we have that we talk about, and people are eager to like to learn or to talk or to share. And we should have a class about two classes that I really want to do. One about biomechanics, like the principles, taking in consideration the latest books we have out there and the latest articles. So what's actually the science says, not what a guru on the internet or that old stuff that even I say that like, no, because in my practice it works like that. In my practice, that's how we do. No, what is written and posted and published. And one webinar about the workflow. I have like this very kind of like neat in protocol of what you do to plan your case. Like what I have to do, how do I, which angles do I look to find out if this is going to be messy or not. And Anderson, yes, exactly right. That's what he says, and that's what it makes sense to me too. What else, guys? Anderson says, continue. There is no more. It's it's finished. That's it. We're going to have another one later on. I have to tell you guys that then we're supposed to have one of these every beginning of the month. So in May, since we're in April, May is going to be a very special one. So for you who is here to on Sunday, and for everybody who's watching this on recorded, remember that May we're going to see the 2.5 version. So it's going to be out officially on the AO, and the 2.5 is going to be like this cool to see all the tools. And I must say, I got to check out a little bit, and it's looking it's amazing, guys. And it's not even done. There's like more stuff to come to the 2.5. So you guys are gonna be Paresh. Thank you, my friend. Make on all premolars extraction case. Okay, all premolars, like even the first and the second one. That's a lot of premolars. There's like 8 teeth. I don't have a case like that, but we definitely can talk about. Oh, okay. Yeah, premolars on okay. We can definitely do something about that. I don't really have a case like that because where I live, I know I look very much Hispanic, né? Very much as a Latin American would look like. But the region, I'm from Brazil, the place where I live here in Brazil are mostly colonized by Germans and Italians. So people look, there's like a lot of blonde people here, a lot of people who have like uh, skeletal patterns of European. That means they are already short on lip. And in the north of Brazil, we have more people who have biprotrusion. In the north of Brazil, there is more case of extraction than here on the south. Here on the south, they're already short on lips. So if we extract here in Brazil, here where I live in the south, they're gonna have like older faces faster. So I have like pretty much almost like one or two cases with extraction. They're not like cool cases, but I can talk like like the theory of the biomechanics of recruiting, doing all this kind of anchorage and stuff like that for sure. No problem. Guys, I need to thank you for the most precious thing you guys have to give to me. That's your time, your attention, and being so kind to me. And I really hope you could learn or you could like enjoy even a little bit of this. You could like have a very, very insight, small, doesn't matter. And remember that I will be always available to you guys if you have any question, any, oh, I have a problem with case. I'm not the fastest guy answering, but I always will answer. You never leave without an answer. And my job in ArchForm is to give you guys clinically support and be there for you guys. If you guys need anything, just like message me, and I'll be there. Okay? Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. And thank
Congratulations,
you.
man.
Thank you, Anderson. So, guys, have a very nice Sunday.
Same for you.